I am really excited to share a little bit about what's helped Infusionsoft grow to 100 million in sales and beyond. And to me, it's really fun to be together with a bunch of people who recognize that partners are really important. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I will share, basically what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about our background, just kind of a little of the backstory of Infusionsoft so you understand that. But that'll really be for context setting so that you understand why we bring this passion to our small business partners and the way that we help our small business customers. So I have to start with a little bit of the founder story because we were our customer. We understand very well what it is to be a small business. And in case it's not totally clear yet, I'm sure it will be by the end of my remarks, we are maniacally focused on small business. So our customers are very much, it's entirely small business. We focus on customers that are 1 to 25 employees. They can get our software and grow with us up to 100 employees. But the real sweet spot for us is kind of 2 to 10 employees. That's where most of our customer base is. So very focused on small business. And we were that customer. We were a small business when we got the business going. We really didn't have any ambitions to raise capital or build a big company. We were just trying to get a business going and survive and basically stick it to the man and have our own company. That was really about the extent of our vision. So we had this little company. We were doing custom software, and it was so tough. It was so difficult to get these small business customers to engage with us and provide them our custom software services. And so we pretty quickly got to where we had a CRM software product that we were providing to our customers, and then we would customize that for them. But we were trying to get to the product game as quickly as we could. I mean, it was really hard. And we were doing the sales and marketing. Basically, the deal with my partners was they did everything they did nothing but write software, and I did everything except write software. That was pretty much the deal. And so we were just trying to keep the lights on. We had the challenges of trying to generate leads and follow up on them, deliver the service, actually do the custom software development, and serve our customers and give them the support they needed, the accounting stuff, all of the things that you've got to do in order to run a successful business. And it was just killing us. We were so close to just mailing it in, saying, you know what, and we're pretty tenacious people, but we think this is just a little too hard. I mean, the honest truth is, if I didn't have so many personal guarantees, I would have left the business because I couldn't make the business work. We were struggling like crazy. So we got to a point where we started to have a little bit of success using the software that we created, in particular the marketing automation capabilities that we had created, and we started to get the business going, and we began to get really excited about what we could do for small businesses, because we saw, not only as we used our software, but as our customers used this marketing automation and CRM capability, we saw how it helped them grow their business, and we saw how it took just a little bit of the chaos out of their world and made it possible for them to be successful. So after doing that for a couple of years, we started to get some good traction, started to have some success, and we really started to kind of find what our passion was in taking this CRM and marketing automation software to small businesses. And so from the beginning, the thing that drives us, our why, the reason we get out of bed, the reason we serve our customers is because we love helping them be successful. And maybe more importantly, we hate seeing small businesses fail. And small businesses fail at an alarming rate. And so for us, we've been on this mission to help small businesses be successful and specifically to simplify growth for millions of small businesses worldwide. So the early stages were really tough. Then we got our product going. We got out of the custom software world, and we created this Everest mission of what we were going to do from 2007 to 2016. This was kind of this 10-year thing that we were on. And it was really all about creating this sales and marketing automation software for small businesses. I mean, believe it or not, the category didn't exist. Marketo wasn't there. Marketing automation wasn't even a thing when we were talking about this. And so for small businesses to get this power and be able to grow without having to do so much manual work on the following up on leads and following up with their customers, to be able to create that was really a fun thing for us. And we spent 10 years, from 07 to 16, really creating the power tool for small business marketers. And that was a ton of fun. We had a blast doing it. But along the way, we got to this point where we're like, we don't ever want to sell this company. We love doing what we're doing. I mean, we just absolutely love it. Because for a while, the plan had been, let's build it up, sell it off. You know, we're from Arizona. Everybody there just invests in real estate. So we thought, we'll just go invest in real estate. But we fell in love with the business. We fell in love with serving our customers and helping them to be successful. And so as we got closer to the top of our Everest summit, we realized, you know what, there's a lot more to this. And what's happened in the world from the time we started the business to where we are now is a complete explosion of software for marketers. And you've all seen these numbers. You've seen this slide probably a number of different times. But the number of apps that are out there for marketers to use has just exploded. And if you're a small business where you're wearing all the hats like I described when we were a small business, trying to go and figure out what all of the solutions are that you should be taking advantage of is a joke. There's no way you're going to do that. So as Seth Godin says, you know, in a world where we have too many choices and too little time, the obvious thing to do is to just ignore stuff. And that's especially true if you're an entrepreneur or a small business owner. You just have to ignore it. So, you know, we looked at that and said, well, the world's changed. You know, we're in this new world where there's all of this technology and all these tools that are supposed to help small businesses in general, but our focus is small business. They're supposed to help small businesses be more successful. But the reality is all of those solutions just tend to create more of the kludge, as we refer to it. All these different tools that you're supposed to be bringing together and somehow learn how to use all of them as a small business owner and do that in a way that you can grow your sales, serve your customers more effectively. And so we saw that the problem of this chaos for small business owners was just getting greater with the technology. And we were getting closer to the Everest mission, and we said, okay, so what do we do about this? How do we stay really riveted on our purpose and our mission and make a really big impact in the world? Because for us, you know, 150,000 users and a $100 million business in annual sales, that was great, but we feel like we're just getting started. Our ambition to change the world for small business is much greater. And so we began to, a couple of years ago, as we were kind of hitting that 100 million run rate, started to see, okay, well, we're getting closer to the top of Everest. Now what do we need to do? And so we changed from our Everest mission to our Mars mission. And the Mars mission is less about the power tool for small business marketers, and it's more about simplifying growth for millions of small businesses worldwide. Helping small businesses get organized, helping them create order out of the chaos that they live in every day so that they can deliver great service to their customers and still providing them that powerful automation that gives them efficiency, time savings, great productivity so that they can actually run their business and grow and be successful while still having a life. So the Mars mission is what we've been up to for about the last little over a year now. Beginning in 2017, we started on the Mars mission. And this is what drives us, to simplify growth for small businesses and to do that for millions of businesses so we can have a major impact. So that's kind of the background of Infusionsoft. I wanted you to understand a little bit of the story so you know kind of where this passion comes from. It comes from being that business and knowing how bad it sucks when you are so disorganized and things are so chaotic and you're trying to serve your customers effectively, but things are slipping through the cracks, you're dropping the ball, you're not following up with your prospects and customers the way you need to, and there are all these tools out there, but you really don't know how to pull them together and use them effectively. And so we started to, as I said, have some success, and what we found was partners were critical to the growth of the business. So Matt was talking about, you know, get really clear on what you want or what the CEO wants when you're talking about partners. And you know, this CEO will say, I want growth, right? I think all of us want to grow the business. But what I want to share with you as I take you through these different sort of chapters of our playbook in working with partners is that if we're not careful, we get so focused on grow sales that we actually kind of lose the way in the process. And what we found over and over and over the last dozen years is that it's about service, not sales. And then the sales happen, by the way. But if you make it about service, an amazing thing happens. So let me take you through that a little bit. And you might look at this and say, okay, well, your playbook says from 2004 to 2009 it was all about sell. So what do you mean service? And I'll explain that. But from 04 to 09, I can simply describe that chapter as it was about partners that helped us sell. And then from 2010 to 2016, this was about partners that helped us scale. And then in 2017 to present, as we've been in this Mars mission, it's really about us serving partners and together helping small businesses succeed. So I'll take you through this a little bit. Let me start with the early years of 04 to 09, where we grew from about $1 million to 10 million, and this was through partners that helped us sell. Now, these partners were influencers. They weren't, they weren't signing up to be part of the Microsoft Partner Network. No offense intended here, but these were just influencers who knew how to help small businesses make buying decisions. They weren't implementing software. They weren't technical at all. They had a large audience because they'd written books or had blogs or different ways of reaching out to small businesses. And so these influencers helped us tremendously as we grew from $1 million to 10 million, got to about 2,500 customers, and we did this with about 25 of these influencers, these trusted advisors to small business. So we had close relationships with these 25 folks. Now, the interesting thing, and here's where there's a little bit of a twist. So we would work with these influencers because they'd have reach out to small businesses, and when small businesses are super busy, they're not going to put out they're not going to put out some kind of RFP to determine what they should get for their software. They're going to go ask their friend, they're going to ask people they know, they're going to ask trusted folks. And this is before they were doing a bunch of ratings checks. Today they just go do a bunch of ratings checks, they talk to a few friends. But back then, they would go talk to somebody they trusted, and they'd make a buying decision based on that. So we built relationships with these 25 trusted influencers, and it helped us get to about 10 million in annual sales. But the interesting thing is, as we worked with these influencers, people like Ryan Deiss, who's the founder and CEO of Digital Marketer, who has big email lists, big reach with small business owners, what we found was if we tried to go get these influencers to promote our product, it was just another thing. Didn't matter if we paid them really handsomely. It didn't matter if we promised them all kinds of financial benefit. That didn't matter. What mattered to them was what our software did in their business. And so we worked with these influencers, and we served them by getting the software in their business and helping them grow their business with Infusionsoft. And once we did that, we couldn't take the bullhorn out of their hand. They just spoke and talked about Infusionsoft. And so that was a really important part of how we got to 10 million in sales through these selling partners, and yet it was all about serving them with our software and helping them to be successful using Infusionsoft. So that first chapter about selling, again, was actually about serving. Now, from 2010 to 2016, we started to build an ecosystem. We raised capital, and we began to really build out a partner ecosystem. And here, we were able to grow the business to about 100 million run rate. And we got to about 25,000 customers. And what we did is we built a kind of an army of partners. But again, when we started the program, we thought we were building a partner network that was going to sell the software. And we would talk to them about the rev share, and we would talk to them about all the benefits, and we'd talk to them about the recognition and the awards they'd get and all that stuff. And they didn't sell very well. But what we found was they were fans of the software, and they would help customers, small businesses, use the software. And then as they would hear the enthusiasm from their customers, they would start to sell the software more. But it's very interesting because we'll talk to investors, when we raise capital, we'd talk to folks and they'd talk about our partner channel, and they'd always want to talk about it in terms of sales and distribution. And I would love to talk about it that way too, but it just wasn't the reality. The reality was it was a service network first that helped our customers be successful with the software, and then secondly, the sales came. And a few times along that way from 2010 to 2016, we would veer off that path and we'd get really focused on the sales goals, and our partners would say, it's not my frickin' quota, don't do that to me. And they just wanted to serve customers. But if we worked with them and we saw them for the value that they provided in helping our customers be successful, they would sell more. So what we found is these partners, now partners is a word that can mean 100 different things, as we all know. So let me tell you what I mean by this service partner network. I described a little bit what that influencer partner group looked like. Now the service partner network's a little different. These were small marketing agencies, or they provided marketing services. They might be consultants, sometimes a webmaster, a graphic designer, somebody that had some expertise in an aspect of marketing, and they'd built a consultancy around that. And when they're small, they don't call themselves agencies, but they're basically embryonic agencies. That's what they are. And so these folks had expertise in their field. They'd have expertise in maybe a particular vertical. And so we would find these folks, and frequently they would be fans of our software, and they would be using it in their business, and then they would become partners. And so we built a partner network about 400 strong by the end of 2016. And we were having a really fun time helping customers be more successful. We would talk about multiplying customer success through these partners. And it was fun to see that not only were they bringing services to the table, but they were bringing integration. So this is another kind of partner that wasn't just a service partner, and yet they were extending the functionality of Infusionsoft. They were making it possible for our customers to do more with our platform. And really, we began to build out a marketplace with hundreds of different dev partners that would help small businesses be successful. So we had the service partners, we had the developer partners, and what we did is we really started to focus with our partners on our passion to help small businesses succeed, that purpose that I started with from the very beginning. And our partners, by the end of 2016, we had about 400 of them that were active, and many more, but 400 that were active and really driving on small business success. And we really recruited these folks that saw the vision of Infusionsoft and wanted to be out helping small businesses succeed. So that was kind of chapter 2, and that really got us to about 100 million run rate. But as we got to the end of that Everest mission, and we saw, hey, we're just scratching the surface on what's possible to help small businesses be successful, we set out on this Mars mission, and we recognized in the learnings that we had with these partners that it was time for us to be even more strategic. Okay, now let me pause here. How many of you have a partner program in your company? Raise your hands if you got a partner program in your company. Okay. How many of you would like the partner program in your company to be more central to the strategy of your company? All right. So if you are in the world of partners, frequently it is talked about and there's some resources spent there, but it's really hard to get it to be sort of front and center for the CEO, the executive team, and we were in that same place. As much as we had seen the progress with partners, I just showed you how we scaled to 100 million. It was like, hey, we know partners are really important, and yet we really were not organized and really were not strategic about how that was going to drive the mission of Infusionsoft. And so a couple years ago, as we were getting toward the end of the Everest mission and getting ready to kick off the Mars mission at the beginning of 2017, we said, hey, let's completely reimagine the partner experience and the partner strategy at Infusionsoft. And I actually led it for about 90 days. All I did is just spend time with our partners, prospective partners, customers who had worked with partners, any aspect of our partner programs. And it was really fun. And I learned that we were making some of the same mistakes in giving lip service to our partners, but not truly putting them and planting them at the center of our strategy. So in 2017, we kicked off this next stage, which is all about serving. So I talked to you about how it was service that was behind sales in that first 10 million. And then I talked about how it was our partners serving our customers that was critical to growing sales to 100 million, because customer success drives that growth. And then what we've found here more recently over the last couple of years is that as we really focus on serving our partners and putting them at the center of the strategy, it's amazing the efficiency, the productivity, and the growth that's coming from that. So we're in kind of the early stages as we've passed the 100 million mark and are continuing to grow. We've now got about 35,000 customers, about 1,500 partners, and over 1,000 integrations. And we have totally focused on helping our customers be successful by serving partners. Now, this is a really interesting shift for us because for a long time, all through that Everest mission, we were a company that was so passionate about helping small businesses be successful. And that passion to serve those customers directly sometimes conflicted with our partners and the things they were doing. And so one of the things I heard as I was out doing a bunch of strategy work on partners is I would hear about the different kinds of conflicts that were going on. And it was hard because we had so much passion to help the small business be successful. But the key shift here was for us to take that passion and put it behind our partners and say, we'll help you be successful, you help our customers be successful. And we had to do something that was kind of counterintuitive for us, which was to actually kind of take a step back from the customer face-to-face experience or the direct-to-customer experience and get behind our partners and trust our partners to serve our customers effectively. And one of the key things we did here is we got mutually focused with our partners on our customers' health score. And by doing that, we were all working for the same thing to help small businesses be successful, to help the customer be successful. And we could trust in the partners to drive that, and the partners could then feel less competition for service work and so on. By the way, that's another thing that makes this shift a little bit tough. You know, when you're doing 20% of your revenue as service revenue with serving customers, to then back off and say, hey, we're going to push that service revenue out to the partner ecosystem, that's a bold move. That's a move that board members want to talk about a little bit. So we had that conversation. We had to go through that strategic shift, but it was really significant. I'll tell you another aspect of the strategic shift. We parted ways with a bunch of employees who were customer-facing employees that we loved, that were passionate about helping small businesses succeed. They were great contributors to our award-winning culture. But we needed to make that shift. Some of them moved and became part of our partner success organization, but the customer success organization got a lot smaller. And that was a little bit tough to go through. But I'll share with you some of the results in just a minute because it was amazing. As we began to serve our partners and really make them our strategy, we started to build a new team around it, a new organization, a new executive at the executive table who was focused purely on partners, that was constantly bringing up the partner perspective. We brought tools, we brought software, we brought all sorts of things to the table to help partners be successful. It was a total shift for us. As much as we thought we were a partner-centric company before, and I shared with you how it was critical for us to grow the business to 100 million, we were literally doubling down on the strategy to grow through partners. And for us, that strategy became, it permeated the entire company. And we began to invest much more in partner success, not just in terms of the shift on our P&L that took $15 or $20 million away of service work that we did, but actually pushing all kinds of additional resources to our customers or to our partners' success. Things like webinars and business booster series and onboarding for partners so that they would be very successful, making ourselves available to them in office hours, taking all of that expertise that we had had in helping customers be successful and now applying that to help partners be successful. And all of these things were part of the training and development. As our partners began to see what we were doing, they started to kind of look around and say, wait, is this for reals? You know, is this really happening? We put the program in place at the beginning of 17, and by our annual partner conference in November of last year, we hit the tipping point with our partner network, and they said, okay, we got it. This is really, really exciting. So, you know, it took some time for our partners to see it. It took some time for our employees to see it. It was really interesting for me to see how there were little pockets of the company that were resisting this shift, that kind of saw it and felt it coming a little bit, but were at odds with partners in a bunch of different ways. And it took a lot of work to kind of iron that out and get them to be supportive and enthusiastic of partners. And that was what we were doing through the course of last year. So we invested in partners. As I mentioned, we built a team, a partner success org, that was all about helping our partners be successful in their business using Infusionsoft, and then taking the software to their customers, to the people that are in their sphere of influence. So we, as I mentioned, brought Tom on board, Tom who's here in the audience, and got him as our partners leader at the executive table. We created regional partner leaders, success coaches, a partner advisory group. And we had had a partner advisory group before, but frankly, we kind of would get together and listen to them a little bit and kind of go back and forth. But it was kind of lame, to be honest. Our partners weren't real wild about it. And we got much more intentional about that, really let them into what we were doing, and probably most significantly, really listened to them in terms of product advice and feedback that they had for us. So that was, a lot of product research that we did with them. And then we built up a partner marketing team. We had always kind of grown our partner ecosystem by through our customer base or through people that hear about it, but we didn't really have a team that was just out recruiting partners and bringing partners on board. And that changed last year, and it was really awesome to see what happened. But maybe the most significant thing that really caught our partners' attention and caused them to go, oh, wow, I get this, is we created an edition of our software just for them. And this was something, a couple years ago, I recruited the former GM of QuickBooks Online to come be our chief product officer and then eventually our chief operating officer, which I made that shift last year. And he knows the cheat sheets guys well, by the way, and we have a few folks that have come to us from Intuit, and they understood this very, very well because they had a QuickBooks Online accounting edition of their software that was very important for their partner ecosystem. And in fact, when I first started, Terry Hicks is our COO, when I first started talking to Terry, he said, yeah, I think you got an opportunity to kind of organize this world of marketing partners and really kind of bring them into the forefront in a little different way than you've been doing. It's kind of happening, but it's dying to happen if you create, it's dying to happen in a big way if you create a version of the software. So we did that. We created a partner edition of the software that gives them the ability to manage their customers and their customers' applications of Infusionsoft in a much more effective way. Gives them the ability to see what's the health score of the customer so that they can go in and diagnose if there are issues or double down if things are going well. That was a really powerful thing, and when we created that edition for them and introduced it to them in November, that contributed to their tipping point. And then I think a really big thing for us has been letting partners specialize and bring their domain expertise in a particular vertical to bear for our customers, to help customers be successful. We've seen some amazing things happen as our partners have been doing that. That's been a lot of fun because it's really tough to effectively serve the use cases of small businesses when you have more of a broad solution. And so we have some things where we've dabbled in verticalization, but allowing partners to really drive that has been fantastic for us. Okay, so I talked about this last stage, and as I mentioned, we're only a year plus into it, but we're growing nicely. Customer growth has been really strong the last few quarters as partners have been really driving this. And I can look at it and say, without a doubt, the partner strategy that we doubled down on and said, hey, let's really get behind partners, I can see without a doubt how effective that's been. I'll share a few things with you. But I also want to point out that we're in kind of the early stages of that, and we're having a blast with it. It's possible for us to do things now with these partners that we couldn't do before as we drive on verticalization, as we drive on some different strategic opportunities. And one of the things that we're really excited about is we've never, you'll notice as I talked about kind of the 1 to 10 million and 10 to 100 million, there weren't big distribution partners as part of that. But as we focused on, at the end of 2016, when we launched this strategy, we said to our partners, we're going to really push the services more to you, and we're going to really focus on the software, and together we'll help small businesses succeed. The focus that we have gained by making this, by doubling down here in the last year and a half, has been incredible, because it's allowed us to really do some things in the product that just had to happen for us to accomplish the Mars mission. To make that transition from a really powerful sales and marketing automation solution to the CRM system that simplifies growth for small business, that's a big jump. And that requires a lot of product focus to do that. And so that's been a really big thing for us. Our partners have made that possible. And so I'll share with you a bunch of things that the partners have done directly, but the indirect effect of what they've done to provide us focus so that we can drive on the product, that's probably the most significant thing that we've gained as we've worked with partners to help small businesses succeed. So let me take you through a couple points of the impact. Together these partners bring customers to the table and bring them from all different areas of small business by leveraging their expertise in all these areas. And so we've got over 150,000 users on the system. We've sent 15 billion emails for them, over 3 billion goals that are accomplished in the campaigns that they use, and over 15 million transactions processed using our payments and e-commerce. So that's just kind of give you a sort of little taste of the breadth of it. But more specifically, I'll take you through 5 areas where partners are really driving a lot of efficiency and productivity. And I'll sort of summarize it by saying we've got about 80% gross margins in our business, which is really strong, particularly in a small business SaaS environment. I got to tell you this real quick. When we went to go raise capital nine years ago, it was amazing because we were small business SaaS and everybody's told us, oh, you can't, it's too expensive to acquire customers and it's too expensive to serve customers. You're going to have bad margins and your CAC is going to be through the roof. And so, no thank you. And we heard that again and again and again and again. But we were looking at them saying, look, we've built the business to several million a year. We feel like we've got a pretty smart way of acquiring customers, and by the way, through those influencer partners. But we heard it over and over. Over the years, you don't hear that as much. I do a lot of advising to entrepreneurs that do small business SaaS, and the sort of the aversion that investors have to invest in small business SaaS is there today still, but nothing like it was 9-10 years ago when we first started talking to investors. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of all of the small business SaaS companies that have been getting traction that help investors say, hey, there's a really great opportunity in small business. So we got great gross margins. We debunked the myth that the gross margins will be lousy in small business SaaS, and partners were a huge part of that. So first point here is partners help us expand the market. Over 50% of our new customer acquisition comes through partners, which is really awesome. The second point is that 45% of our customer base is working directly with a partner, or at least one partner. Sometimes it's many. And we're trying to drive that up. That's a key success factor for us. We want to drive that up. When our customers are working with partners, our customer success, our retention, our lifetime value, all of that goes up significantly. It's amazing. When we started to really look at the data and get clear on that, it was amazing to see how the partners drive the profitability of a customer, drive the unit economics of a customer. This next one was huge. When I talked about all of those service people we had in the business that helped customers, a lot of them were doing onboarding work. And now 90% of our onboarding is done by our partners. And together we're focused on helping the customer be successful, but that's a key factor for us. That 2 years ago was about 20%. So we made a pretty massive shift as we doubled down on our partner strategy. About 64% of our customers have a really healthy CA customer health score. For us, that number is 60. We like to see it get over that. About 64% of our customers who are connected with a partner are there. And then the last point is we've grown the certified partner base about 90% since the end of 2016. So I talked about that partner recruiting, the partner marketing, and of course, nothing begets success like success. So as partners are successful, the word spreads, and there's a lot of momentum building for us as we've grown our partner base dramatically. I think the interesting thing is I've seen this again and again and again. This fact probably underscores it better than any. When I listened closely to our partners, I heard, this was a couple years ago as we went through the strategy refresh, I heard again and again and again, hey, we do more than just help you sell. And so they were getting the message that selling was all that mattered, even though that wasn't the message we were trying to give. And so this refresh of the strategy as we put partners in the center was really about serving them. And the interesting thing is, as we embraced them and served them and honored them as service partners, as partners who didn't sell, maybe that's a better way to say it. These partners who don't sell are now selling about 100% more than they were selling a year ago. So it's such an interesting and fascinating thing when you get behind partners and you serve them. And I love what's happened in just the, not just as I look at the run to 100 million, but what's now happening as we double down on that strategy. And I would encourage you, if you are, as you have your strategic discussions, to look at how can you bring partners more into the fold. The results for us have been incredible. And to me, the opportunity to help small businesses succeed and do it at the scale we're talking about with millions of small businesses just can't be done without a partner network. And so if you're serving small businesses, I think it's essential. If you're not serving small businesses, I still think it's critical for the efficiency and the productivity and scale. And hopefully some of the things I've shared with you have sparked some thoughts and given you some ideas about how you might double down on your partner strategy to help customers succeed. Thank you. We okay to go to questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I was looking for the mic. There we go. You mentioned that most of your partner growth has not come from big partners. It's a distributed network of smaller partners. Could you describe kind of the profile of your typical or your better partners? Yeah, that's a great question. They look a lot like our customers. So they tend to, the sweet spot's kind of a 2 to 10 person small marketing agency, and that's really what our partner network is made up of. So a lot of times we'll go out and we'll talk to people about our partner channel, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, give me some examples of who they are." I'm like, "No, you won't recognize any of their logos, trust me." But I will say this: as we have shifted into the mission that's all about simplifying growth, we've done some really cool things. We're actually just this quarter we've been introducing the new Infusionsoft, and it's that product simplification was made possible by, as I mentioned before, the partner strategy, which freed us up to really focus on the product. But what that's done now is it's opened up conversations for us to have with strategic partners, larger distribution partners who frankly we couldn't make it work in the past because of the complexity of the solution and the economics, kind of the price points. It just didn't make sense. Now we're having conversations with some of the large aggregators of small businesses that make a lot of sense, but that wasn't the case before. So while the run to 100 million was, I would say, entirely about mom and pop small businesses that were partners for us, we see the scaling opportunity beyond 100 million starting to pick up a little bit of momentum because we can do distribution deals with partners that want to help their small businesses do CRM and marketing automation more effectively. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, you bet.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Where's that coming from? Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So we have a similar offering, 2 to 10 employees is our typical customer, about $200 to $250 a month subscription. But how
Sounds
do you
familiar.
It's called ShopWalks, so
Okay.
for custom manufacturing.
Yeah.
How do you compensate these partners? Because when they look at the price point, they say $200 a month, what do I get out of it?
Right.
And do you do perpetual or do you have a limit? Because I'm trying to get these guys to sign up, but then if they get 50% of it, it's like $100.
Yes.
Now, do you do perpetual? Do you have a time limit? What is your strategy to compensate these guys?
Yeah, this is a great question. We had struggled and struggled and struggled with this over the years, and we found, we would continually find little ways to improve it. But it kind of gets back to the first question. The economics tend to rule out large VARs in our world, right? That large VARs just can't make the dollars work, right? So what we found was in the early days, what we did is we would pay them a one-time bounty. Those selling partners, those trusted advisors, that was, as I mentioned, the bounty alone wasn't enough to get them to do it. They had to love our software. And so loving our software because it was helping their business grow, combined with a bounty to compensate them for their efforts to promote it was the way that we got to that 10 million mark. Then when we introduced our partner network and we got them together and we talked about how they could make money selling Infusionsoft, it just fell flat. It didn't work because the dollars just weren't there. They had to fall in love with the product. They had to love it in their business. They had to see what it was doing in their customers' business. And let me just tell you, it's a long road to hoe. I mean, it is not fun because you're like, is there some shortcut we can take to get to where the partner will just promote and not have to go through the implementation in their business and go through a multi-month cycle of their employees and themselves starting to see how, whoa, this is amazing. And we unfortunately found that there wasn't a shortcut to take. We tried a bunch of shortcuts. And so the answer is it's the love of the software combined with some dollars for their trouble. But then there's another piece with these service partners, and that is they make their money and really build their business by doing ongoing services for that customer. So it's not just about an implementation or a small piece of service work, but they're really trying to build a client for life that they can serve in their sales, that they can serve that client in their sales, marketing, and customer service using Infusionsoft as the platform on which they build their automation. And so these partners are lovers of the software. They get a little bit of economics that kind of give them some money for their troubles, but they also get some economics in the ongoing service work. And I'll just say we toyed with paying them a percentage of the subscription as a one-time bounty, and sort of like kind of tried to find the sweet spot that would cause them to do it. We did 1 year rev shares to kind of make it more attractive for them initially. We've done perpetual for a smaller percentage. We've tried it all. I would say that the businesses that have a good service business, the partners that have a good service business, the best model is a small percentage of the ongoing subscription where they make some dollars up front in their hourly service work or their hourly project. For the businesses that don't do the service and they just sell, that long tail subscription doesn't work, and it really isn't aligned to our incentive or our interests as well. And so for those, we tended to create kind of a bounty. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My question is about your verticalization strategy through partners and how you structured those vertical partners. Did you have to give exclusivity and things of that nature? And also, did you have to customize your software per vertical?
We earned the scars of giving exclusivity. We would advise against that. We did that initially and found that wasn't a good approach. And it wasn't good for the partner either. That's the funny thing. It sucked for the partner, the customer, and us. And we kind of got cajoled into doing that, and we shouldn't have done it. So we don't do exclusivity. Dentistry is a really, really big world, and a partner that thinks they've got the corner on all the expertise in dentistry for client relations is crazy. The reality is you can create all sorts of specialties. So our approach is to provide the platform and the tools and to give them through the partner edition of our software a very cool and smooth way to create their flavor of a dentistry solution. Yep. How are we doing time-wise? All right.
Can you talk a little bit about your team structure? So when you had 20 partners versus now that you have 400, how did you grow your team? Who did you have? Was it just yourself and then?
Yeah, that is a great question. Early on, these influencers we worked with didn't want to talk to anybody except for the CEO. It was so frustrating because I'm like, we're trying to grow and scale this business. You've got to work with this person that I've hired who's fantastic, who'll do a great job. It was really tricky. I had to be no, we're not going to let you come speak at our event unless you're the one that speaks. We're not going to negotiate with anybody except for you. I mean, it was just all that dumb stuff early on. And we dealt with that, and then we got a person that was strong enough to say, no, I got this. It was strong enough to say that to the partner and to the CEO, by the way. And then we had 2 or 3 people that kind of managed the relationships of those 25 partners. Now, we also had a couple of support people behind them once we got to where they were out speaking at a lot of events and that sort of thing. So that's what it looked like in the early stage with those 25 influencer partners. Then as we built this certified partner program, gosh, we messed this up so many times. Like we really didn't build a strong organization to support them. You know, we had people that were doing some marketing and then also trying to help partners, and one person that would kind of certify partners, but you know, it was like for a while there it was the fog the mirror test. You know, it was just we didn't have the resources to help them be successful. People were wearing different hats, and this is where raising capital was so important for us. You know, it's so ironic. I was talking to Laura about this today. It's so ironic because you think, well, if you don't have capital, then you can't do it all yourself, so obviously you got to have a bunch of partners. But actually, that's not what happened for us. We had to have capital in order to build a true partner program that we could get behind the partners and help them be successful. So after we raised capital, we started to kind of get it figured out a little bit more, and we were able to build a stronger team. But even then, that team was not, I mean, they were like a small partner team within marketing, or then sometimes they'd move over to sales, or then they'd be in product. I mean, it was this, you know, they were just getting bounced around. You smile because you've lived it. You know the drill, right? It wasn't until we really made partners central to our strategy and we created a partner organization that was all about partner success, and we put an executive over that. And you know, I look back on it, and I'm as passionate about partners as anybody. Terry, who's our COO, is totally passionate about partners, and yet, and my co-founder Scott, super passionate. We were all passionate about partners, but for whatever reason, in those strategic conversations at the executive table, when there wasn't someone who was constantly talking about partners, they would kind of, you know, get the raw end of the deal sometimes. So today we have an organization that's very strong, very focused, lots of different teams. They're all about helping partners succeed. And we've got the rest of the company that understands that partners are central to our success. Great question. Thank you. Yeah?
You had mentioned several things that you've done from a partner's perspective. Thank you very much. You mentioned lots of things that you put in place to get to this point.
Yeah.
From a partner's perspective, of the list that you provided, how would you prioritize from their point of view what you did that made it all work better?
Well, one of the things I love about partners is they are eternally discontented, right? So if I brought a stream of our partners in, they wouldn't all come down and bow down and kiss the ring. They'd be like, okay, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And I love that. It's fantastic. It helps us be better for them and for our customers. But they would say, yeah, things have really been great here as we've been making advancements over the last 18 months. So I would say that having an organization that's focused on their success causes them to feel less in conflict and less wondering, how do I connect with the company? They were kind of left at their own devices to figure out how to get into the company in effective ways. Now they have contact points. They've got people who are focused on this. People who are specialized on it. They feel, I believe, Ben and Dan work with our partners at Infusionsoft. I believe they would say they feel less internal conflict about the strategic significance of partners. So one thing for sure is just an org structure. I think they'd feel that. I think they would also say we've prioritized product, and that has made a huge difference for them. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the product for them. And the honest truth is, we were slow in some of our product advancements as we were getting toward the end of that Everest mission, and there were a number of reasons for it, but they're happy about product really gaining a lot of momentum. And that in November last year, they saw that, and they're like, oh my gosh, okay.
Is there some way to quantify, let's say, out of 100 features that came into your last release, when before maybe 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 would be targeted partners and the rest? Can you quantify the amount of shift of product that oriented towards their success?
It's a good question, and my answer is going to be a bit artificial, but I'd say it went from about 10 or 15% to about 40 or 50%. Okay. That's fair to say. Great question. Thank you. Yes?
You talked a bit about how you compensate partners today. Mm-hmm. How did you compensate early influencers like Ryan Dice when it was only 25? What did you use to get him on board? Because at that point in time, it's maybe not looking as lucrative as it might now.
Yeah, it really was. It really was the bounty. We would pay them a chunk up front, and if they were really, our kind of the top producers, we'd give them a chunk up front and 10% of the ongoing, perpetually. So it was pretty expensive from a CAC standpoint, but the thing that you can't really, it's really hard to quantify. It's to do attribution on customer acquisition where you go and you speak on a stage, or you can't track it, but we could see pretty clearly that as we spoke at events, customer acquisition lifted after those events, and so it was worth it for us to. And by the way, the partners knew that too, and they'd be like, well, I don't get credit for the stuff that happens 2 months down the road because they came to my event, right? And so we had to make it strong enough that they could say, oh, okay, so I can make a chunk of money by getting someone that buys the software from an email promotion that I do, or a webinar, or a stage presentation you do. So I would say it was really getting them interested from an upfront standpoint. But again, I can't emphasize this enough. If they didn't love the software, and more importantly, if their staff members weren't telling them, hey, this is really awesome, like that's where it is. The real nugget in how we got influencers to work is we spent time with the people who were in pain trying to use the mess of systems that influencer had kind of brought into the business. We got the staff loving the software, and then when the staff is talking about it to the influencer, because the influencer is not usually logging into our software, but the influencer is seeing sales pick up because of the use of the software, and when they have their staff saying, hey, Infusionsoft is doing amazing stuff for us, then they're willing to promote us and get paid something for it. But we tried over and over to have it be just a financial play for them. It just didn't work. We'd have people that would tell us, oh yeah, we're going to make so much money with you guys, we're going to bring you so many customers, we're going to be your top producer, blah, 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 blah. If they didn't love the software, it didn't happen. Yeah.
A ton of resonating stories on my end. I did notice that you said you had 1,000 integrations. So how does that technical partnership program interplay with this service-based partnership program, and what is the sort of focal swing? Like, how do they work together and support each other? Yeah, that's an awesome question. And Ben, I'm going to have you raise your hand. Ben leads our developer partners, and so he's very involved in the integrations, and he can give you more specifics of kind of how we do that and how you can work with us. But what I'll tell you generally is that a lot of our partners do service work and have an integration they do with us. Some of them don't. I mean, obviously, some of the logos I put up there aren't doing service work with us. But what I'd say is for those partners who do both, we tend to treat them first and foremost as a developer partner because their needs are a little bit unique. And we have so many service partners. Developer partners will have multiple apps that they're doing integrations with us on. So we have more service partners than developer partners, even though we have a lot of integrations because we've got many integrations per partner. But I would say we probably were the slowest to get it right with dev partners. And if I brought in service partners and dev partners, the dev partners would be the ones that say, yeah, for a long time we felt like the redheaded stepchild in the program. They're getting to a place where they're feeling a lot better about that. But we're still working on it. We're still working to improve the support for them. I would just say
with dev partners, the key thing we learned is you got to be really fast in the responsiveness because they're trying to write code, they're trying to do something, and if they can't get a quick response, it's very frustrating for them. So you got to give them a different kind of treatment than you do the service partners. And for what it's worth, when customers have an integration, the retention just goes through the roof. And it took us a while. Like once we saw that, we're like, oh, how about we spend a little bit more time and effort helping these dev partners and not have it be just kind of a Wild West, which it was for a while there.
You mentioned in the talk, you just threw it away, but I think it was a key point. But first, you're a partner manager's dream CEO, I have to say. So everyone wants to be, wants you to be their boss right now. So you mentioned that you had that difficult board conversation, but I mean it's a big transformation. You guys love your customers so much in Infusionsoft, and it's this love triangle. Yeah. You let the partners love the customers on your behalf, and so much transformation had to happen. How did you convince your board, your staff, the executive to make this change? Because it's not a trivial change at all.
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. What we really did is we helped them see that in order for us to serve small businesses at the scale we intended to, we couldn't do it serving direct to customer. And fortunately, they totally got it. They could see that was true. And it wasn't like we were overnight turning off $15 million in kind of in service revenue. It kind of tapered off. So, and that's good because boards don't like abrupt things, obviously. So, and neither do CEOs, by the way. So. I think it was partly that they understood that to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish, we had to do it. It's just necessary. And partly that they were savvy enough to see, well, it'll be a little bit of a shift here. So, and then it also helps to have great board members. I've got really good board members. Jeffrey Moore, who wrote Crossing the Chasm, is one of our board members, and he's a big believer in the leverage that partners bring to the table. So, that was the key word. I learned to use that L word many times as I talked to our board, the leverage. And it's totally shown up. Last quarter we were 81% gross margin. Just, the gross margins have gotten better and better. And so that's really powerful when they start to see the results.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Clate. Thank you. That was amazing.
You bet. Thank you.